morning. I am on my way to work today, so I thought I'd do an intro to my engine swap video. I didn't really plan on what I was going to say, but it's pretty cut and dry. Basically, the engine that I bought the car with had a big problem with the crankshaft being pushed into the engine by the drive shaft. I'll get more into that later, of course. And I've got an engine, and I bought one that I thought was going to be the right one, and it turned out to be pretty decent, but I had to rebuild basically the engine after I put it in the car. I had to do the head gasket. I had to do, obviously, the cam, you know, I got that came on and off. All the seals on the front, you know, get what I'm saying. Better off to buy a good engine first. Don't try to save a few bucks. I probably saved about $400 or $500 off of what my other choice was that I should have bought. I've spent at least that much time in gaskets and energy and other just stuff. So I'm gonna go back in time now. This is back during COVID, so we'll go back in time to when I was doing the engine trade out. Good morning. This is Joel. I am getting ready to drive my 86 944, and I've got a kind of a ticking sound, so it looks like it's going to be time to do a head rebuild. Head was rebuilt by a previous owner, a young kid. I don't know what he did. I don't know if he got it all right, but there's a ticking sound. Could just be lifters. I've already tried that once, but we'll see. I might try the lifter thing one more time before I take apart the head. But once you get the cam tower off, you might as well look at the head, I guess. So that's where we're going to be going from there. And I thought I'd show some video, or make some video of the car while it's still running. It just barely ticks when you first start it up, but then as the engine gets warmer, it becomes not quite a rattle, but definitely a strong tick. Enough to hear it from far away. So let's drive this thing while we still can. Got my non-powered, used to be powered steering rack. So that's another project, but I already shot the video for that one. Power steering, it's been on my list for quite a while. Gas gauge still hasn't woken up. This is going to be a great car when I get all these little things fixed. Just hope I'm not looking at an engine situation. But at the same time, I almost wouldn't mind anyway, because that way I'd know what's going on. Because right now it's just a big mystery, you know, and that's how it is anytime you buy a car this old. Okay, that was a recording of the weird sound from the back of the transmission, which must be some kind of problem. Yay!
Just to give you an idea of how tight the tolerances are. Great video on YouTube, the guys seating center head, seating down. And what you do is you use the tool, goes down the valve time, straighten it up, it's got the
Good morning. Nice December day here in Florida. Gonna be taking the engine out of my 85.5 944. Probably checking out my glasses. These are my emergency reader glasses because I left the other ones in the other car. We're taking off all the top of the engine right now. My buddy Art, he's already got the whole bottom ready to go, so I get to take apart all this stuff, and it's kind of fun taking stuff apart when you don't have to worry about you know, remembering how it all goes back together, because you're putting in a new engine. So you basically, if you don't know how it goes back together, you shouldn't even be doing it. Okay, so I'll check in with you guys in a minute. I'll give you a quick tour of the car. It's 85.5. It's got a rod problem or a crank problem or some kind of problem that's beyond saving. So we've got a new engine, new to me. This is an 87, and it's got a manual. It's got a manual, you know, it's from a manual car. So basically, we're gonna maybe end up using this, the clutch and the pressure plate and all that, and the flywheel from this engine, because the torque converter damper might be damaged, or it might be just a good idea. I'll take a look at it when we get in there and see what kind of condition it's in. If it's in really nice condition, I'll just put it back together the way it was. So, but anyway, there's a bunch of details about buying an engine for a 944, way more than I realized. And so throughout this, I'm going to go through a lot of what I learned, because it's really complicated and there's not as much information out there that's coherent. I found like engine number stats and all kinds of weird things that were not matching up with other stuff. So if you're going to do something like this, plan a lot of research. But it's good, because then when you know, when it increases your chances of being happy in the end. Because if you're going to put in an engine, you want to make sure it's the right one. Because you only got one of your, you know, if you love a car like I do, I love mine. If you love a car that needs an engine, you can buy another engine. But it's harder to find another car you like. It's my first alternator. Isn't she cute? How's your transmission fluid? Well, I'm sitting in it. I'm literally sitting in transmission fluid from taking the engine out of the Porsche 944. My glasses came in handy. Everybody laughed at me when I glued reader lenses to swimming goggles. But I tell you what, when you're underneath a Porsche 944 as old as mine, and stuff is falling down in your face, these things really did a good job of keeping my eyes clear of crap, because nothing ruins your day more than being an hour into a big job on your car and having a chunk of something from your undercarriage end up in your eye. Anyway, so tomorrow we're going to be taking a look at the parts that are going back in the car, and just a quick little overview of how we took it out. Relatively uneventful, except for my buddy Art didn't believe that it went out the bottom, so we kind of had a little bit of fun figuring out whether or not you could get it out the top. He wanted to take it out the top. I thought it came out the bottom. I thought he might be right. I was hoping he would be right, because it took more work to get it out the bottom, but I think it's the only way. Somebody else can do it differently if they've got different equipment. All right, catch you guys tomorrow. Okay, here we are with the old engine that I took out, and let's get down to where the number is stamped. Which is right there. And this is automatic engine that came out of an automatic car. So here's your flex damper. Seems like it might be okay. We'll see how it works with what I've got. This is my backup plan, is just to put this back in there if the other thing doesn't work. Because right now I got the static clutch in there, which makes me nervous, but I did it anyway. Okay, I want to show you this quick before the battery runs out. This is the sensor bracket, and it's the later bracket that is the one that you want because it's got this more shielding here, and it's also the one that happened to come on my 86 engine. You can see I've added this little set screw by just drilling a hole through that and putting in a small Allen. And so what you do is when you're putting this together, the nut or the bolt will hold this up, so you have your test sensor here, and then then you're down on the teeth, and then you can use this screw to kind of, you know, just feel your way through it. And then as you tighten this one, you just keep checking the feel, because this screw is real loose. It's not supposed to be tight, because you want to be, it should remain the same tightness as you tighten this bolt and this one. And then when you're all said and done, you take that screw and you back it off just a little bit, and it'll be loose. And then you know that hasn't changed at all since you registered it at the sensor. Okay, cool little thing there. I don't know if it's going to work great in the long run, but we'll give it a try. I've already set one up like this before, and it actually was pretty easy. Okay, here we are at the shop. Got my 86, 85 and a half. I just say 86, it's easier for everybody, but anyway, 85 and a half, 944, and I've put in another engine to replace the other one, which had a bad rod. So this is all kind of put together fairly correctly. Some things are a little temporary, like the air filter thing is temporary. That's mostly there just because it's easy to get it in and out. But I'll probably put the stock stuff back together once all this crazy transaxle stuff is done. So anyway, so we got a nice 87 engine in there now, the most modern in my mind of the 944 NA engines. I know in 88 and 89 they got a few different other things, but this is basically the newest engine that you know, that's affordable. Anything else is going to cost you more. Okay, so what we're doing right now is getting ready to pull the transmission, because one of the reasons why the old engine failed, probably the reason, was there was too much pressure on the back of the engine. Because when you take out the engine and you put in a new engine, if you pull the drive shaft this way a ½ inch, which appears to be what happened, then when they put the new engine in, which turned out to be an old engine, turned out to be an 84 engine, now you've got a bind, and it actually, the torque dampener was sitting up against the bolts of the flywheel, and so the torque dampener gave up some of that clearance, but there was still too much pressure on the main bearing down the line, and the main bearing is between cylinders 2 and 3, so it was pushing on that thrust bearing on the forward side of the engine, which of course allowed a lot of heat to build up there. Then once that bearing failed, you got a lot more oil shooting out on this side, and eventually something's going to fail, and that rod just happened to be the closest one to it, and it overheated, and lack of oil pressure, you know, got on the line. So that's that. So anyway, so getting ready to pull the transmission. Got a lot of stuff disconnected. Not a lot of light under here yet. I need to get my light going. But take my word for it, got to pull the transmission.